Hebrews 6:10 through 12 says, "For God is not unjust so as to overlook your work and the love that you have shown for his name in serving the saints, as you still do. And we desire each of you to show the same earnestness to have the full assurance of hope until the end, so that you may not be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises." A couple of nights ago, Torben was preaching about what it means in the parable of the talents, where we can compare ourselves to one another. And I realize that I'm comparing myself to other people and trying to live up to other people's calling. And when we do that, we're neglecting our own calling. There are certain things that God had put on my heart to do that I had not been actually doing. So I'm stepping into those things. In that parable in Matthew 25:14 and following, it says, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went away and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, 'Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more.' His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master.' He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, 'Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours.' But his master answered him, 'You wicked and slothful servant, you know that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.'" Also, we can look at each other and we can look at each other's callings and purposes, and we can say, "Mine is not as good as." We look through Hebrews 11 and we can see different people had different callings. We can see that by faith Noah built the ark, and it took him a long time to do. But also by faith, Rahab hid the spies, and she was also in that list. It did not take her 100 years of that. She simply did what God was calling her to. So maybe God's calling you to do certain things. Maybe God's calling you to do something simple, or maybe God's calling you to something that will take 100 years. Whatever it is, step out and do it, and your reward will be one of the faithful, because you were faithful with much, because you were faithful with a little. No matter how much it is, God is going to recognize you for your faithfulness in that day. And you want to hear those words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Bless you all.